You've been lied to. Maybe it was from TV shows or movies, maybe it was by your parents or your community, or maybe you're like me and you've been lying to yourself. We all have a set of assumptions that we carry around with us about friendship and how it works. However, so many of those beliefs are not only untrue, but are extremely limiting. They're lies that are holding us back from creating and maintaining true friendships, where we feel heard, seen, hopeful, joyful, and loved. And the time has come for us to unlearn them. We all know people that seem to effortlessly connect with others. They're able to strike up a conversation with anyone, no matter where they go, and it appears that they make friends without even trying. Maybe that even describes you. But if it doesn't, you may believe that these people are just lucky, that they're born with this innate ability to be able to make friends. But that's simply not true. We're all born helpless little humans that are no better and no worse at making friends than all the other babies. The ability to make and keep friends is actually a set of skills that can be learned and developed through practice and effort. Yes, there are certain personality traits that make it a bit easier for people to initiate friendships. And yes, there are also some people who are lucky in that they grow up around great examples of people who are great relationship builders themselves. There is no doubt that those can be helpful in learning to make friends more quickly. But anyone who puts in the time and effort to develop the right skills can become an expert at making friends too. If you're interested, here's some videos of the best skills that I have learned over the years. Social media has changed our perception of a normal amount of friends. Hundreds or thousands of Facebook friends, thousands or millions of followers on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. A similar amount of subscribers on YouTube. Those sorts of figures are so common in today's world. However, back in the 1990s, Robin Dunbar, a British anthropologist, came up with a theory about the number of social relationships that a human brain can effectively manage. That number, now known today as Dunbar's number, is 150. While there's still debate about the accuracy of that figure, even if you double it, that's still far, far below the crazy numbers that we see often on social media. And we really don't even need that many. When it comes to close friends, there was a study done by researchers at the University of Oxford that found that most people have between 2 and 5 close friends, and that having more than 5 close friends wasn't associated with any greater well-being. Up to 5 close friends. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy to make really good friends. It'll take time, effort, and patience. But what we can do right now is reframe our situation and realize that we don't need to seek out hundreds or thousands of people to be a part of our lives. After all, it's the quality of our relationships that matters so much more than the quantity. The opportunity for a friendship may arise naturally, but it will only begin if somebody takes initiative, and it will only grow if 2 people put forth consistent effort over time. Maybe you're noticing a theme here. Friendships don't just appear out of nowhere. Even when people have so much in common and they hit it off from the get-go, the friendship is only possible with effort. Whether that be initiating conversation, making plans to hang out, or showing an interest in the other person. And that's an amazing thing, because it means that if our friendships aren't all that we want them to be, we're not just completely out of luck. We have the power to change our situation. We can put in the work to learn skills like how to introduce ourselves to others, how to ask better questions, and how to become excellent listeners. And by doing that, we can create the types of friendships that we've always dreamed of. Now, I do have a big caveat on this one. I am not saying that old friends cannot be our best friends. There really is a great advantage in getting to know somebody over a set of years, and also to be able to grow with them over different phases of life. For me, my best friend happens to also be one of my oldest friends, and she's now been in my life for over a decade. The length of a friendship is not the ultimate indicator of its strength. Just because somebody has been in our lives for a long time doesn't mean that it's somebody that we trust and confide in, someone that can make us laugh, or somebody who will celebrate our wins with us. As we talked about, those sorts of qualities don't just happen naturally, even over the course of decades. They require deliberate effort. I bet that we all have at least one person that we've known for quite a while that we've never gotten to know below the surface. Not only that, each and every one of us is changing day by day, and as a result, our relationships are changing as well. Sometimes they grow, but it's also possible for them to weaken. And to be clear, neither of those is wrong, because there are times where friendship runs its course. As Brian Chalker wrote, people come in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So keep those old friendships strong if they still make you feel hopeful, joyful, and loved. But don't forget that at any point in our lives, we can build strong relationships, even with people that we recently met. Which brings me to the next lie. Until the day that we die, we can make true friends. There is no such thing as too late. Maybe you're discouraged because you missed out on opportunities earlier in life to be able to build close friendships. While those specific chances may be gone, we can create new opportunities today. After all, there are almost 8 billion people in the world. Maybe you have less time now to invest in relationship building compared to whenever you were a kid. While that may certainly be true, having less time is very different than having no time. A small amount of time invested in the right areas can pay huge dividends. Maybe you believe that it's more difficult and takes so much more effort to make friends as an adult. And for that one, I'm actually with you. It's way harder to make friends as an adult compared to whenever I was a kid. But at least in my experience, all that extra effort actually makes each friendship more meaningful. When I was a kid, most of my friends came about because of circumstance and convenience. My friends were simply the other kids that were in my area. Now though, I have to deliberately reach out and put forth effort to make a new friend. However, because those friendships are not solely based on proximity, but on the values that we have in common and the shared aspirations that we have for our lives, I value each of those humans way more because I choose to have them in my life for a reason, and they do the same for me. Even if you're watching this right now with 0 friends and are looking to make just one close friend, you still have time. If you start today, I bet you'll be so pleasantly surprised by all the progress that you can make in a year. Friendships are built on trust and honesty. Without those, it's difficult or maybe even impossible for open and authentic communication to happen, which limits the amount of intimacy and closeness in a relationship. However, that doesn't mean that we need to share every single detail of our lives with our friends. There are some parts of our lives that we want to keep private, and that's totally okay. We owe it to no one to bare our soul to the world. Not only that, different cultures have contrasting views about what is public and what is private information. None of them are right or wrong. They're all just different. Also, when we take the step of moving past the what and into the why, there's more than enough for us to talk about with our friends. Too much time has passed. It'll be awkward if I reach out. They've probably already moved on. Those are all statements that I have said multiple times when thinking about old friends with whom I had lost contact. And as a result, for years, I stopped myself from reaching out, even though there was another thing that I said to myself often. I wish that we never lost touch. Even though I miss my old friends and I wanted to reconnect, I believed the lie that you cannot rekindle a friendship because I was scared of 2 things: judgment and rejection. Judgment because it was often my fault that we lost touch, and rejection because, well, that one is self-explanatory. But the pain of regret is so much worse than the combined pain of judgment and rejection. So I started reaching out. Sometimes they didn't respond. And sometimes whenever we did catch up, the dynamic was so different that we didn't keep in touch afterwards. But those times where it has worked out, which to be completely honest with you has been far more than I expected, has made all the other times so much more than worth it. At any point, with even a single text, we can rekindle a long lost friendship. True friends always want to be there for us, but that doesn't mean that they always will be. 2 main reasons for this. The first is that they may not know how exactly to support us, and the second is that it happens. The first is simpler to address. We can communicate our needs to our friends. Maybe it's a listening ear. Maybe it's showing up to a show we're doing. Or maybe it's advice with the situation that we're dealing with. If our friends know, then they can act. The second is a little bit more difficult and ultimately out of our control. Sometimes our friends are dealing with their own issues and don't have the mental or emotional capacity to be able to help us. It doesn't mean that they aren't true friends or that they don't love us. It just means in that moment, they may just be stretched thin. If we see a pattern over time, that is one thing. But if it's a situation here and there where our friends aren't able to be there for us, they still may be someone to keep in our lives for the long term. It can make it easier for us to relate to people that have similar interests to us, but it's definitely not a requirement. There are so many things that are far more important to friendship than liking the same activities. Mutual trust and respect, open and honest communication, shared values, and common goals. Each of those helps serve as a much stronger foundation for a friendship compared to having similar hobbies. Not only that, having different interests can lead to some amazing benefits. Fresh perspectives to share with one another, a bigger variety of activities to try together, and the opportunity to teach each other new things we might not be exposed to otherwise. Personally, I've been amazed and inspired more from the different interests my friends and I have, as opposed to the ones that we share in common. This one isn't completely false. There's a lot of truth and wisdom in the statement. However, it's placed here among all these other lies because it paints too simplistic a view of life, and at least in my experience, absolves self-responsibility for personal growth and our lives as a whole. If we believe that who we are today is solely or even mostly because of the people around us, and we're unhappy with certain parts of our lives, it's easy to place the blame on others and think that we can solve all of our problems simply by finding new friends. But it's not that simple. Even if we surround ourselves with new people, even the most hopeful, loving, and hardworking people that ever existed, if we don't do the work of proper introspection and take action to improve our situation, nothing is going to change. We'll be in the exact same position as before. The only difference is that we'll have more people to be able to blame. So yes, the 5 people that we spend the most time with no doubt have a huge influence on who we are. That part isn't in question, but we are far more than just the average of them. A study done at the University of Kansas found that it takes adults on average 358 hours to turn an acquaintance into a close friend. And maybe I'm off my rocker on this one. And to be completely transparent with you, I have no concrete evidence to be able to refute that study. But at least in my experience, it takes far less time to be able to make a true friend if we're intentional in the way that we approach relationship building. Even early on in the relationship, we can make the choice to be open and vulnerable with the other person and move past small talk by asking meaningful questions and properly listening. There's no prescribed amount of time that we have to wait to do either of those things, both of which are vital ingredients if we want to make close friends. And while being vulnerable definitely does expose us to the potential risk of being hurt, opening up also opens up the opportunity for an amazing reward, true friendships. Vulnerability has to start somewhere. And if we begin the process of revealing our true selves to others, true friendships can be ours much sooner than we may realize. So what do you think? Do you agree with those 11? Do you disagree? Or are there even some that you would add to the list? Please do let me know down in the comments below. Also, if this sort of content vibes with you, please do consider hitting the subscribe button for more. I'm on a mission to help 1 million people make a true friend, so there's plenty more videos about friendships and how we build and maintain relationships on the way. It would be great to have you along the journey. Either way though, I'm sending you so much love today, my friends. I hope that today you have the best day ever. Bye now.